Hello and welcome to Anime Memories, and on this episode, I'm going to be talking about Shigofumi, Letters from the Departed. When it comes to the genre of drama, it's pretty broad and it has quite a few subcategories. You've got the shows that contain some drama, however it's not the main focus. Then you've got the melodramas that contain a high level of emotion even though they're dealing with everyday situations. And finally you've got the soul-crushing anime that is so incredibly brutal that they leave you feeling sapped of all your energy. Shigofumi fits into the latter category. It had such a huge impact on me that I don't think I'll ever be able to forget it. So, let's get into it. Fumika is a supernatural deliveryman who delivers letters to the deceased, which are known as Shigofumi. Her first delivery that we see is to a boy named Shota who's in love with an attractive young girl named Ayase. However, their relationship is flipped on its head when Shota finds out that the Shigofumi is from Ayase's father who was recently murdered. I originally thought that these two would be the main focus of the story, but their whole arc was wrapped up by the end of episode 2. After that I realised that this anime was episodic. Fumika delivers letters to many different people, most of which are teenagers, and each of them are given their own episode. This was going fairly well. By separating this into a series of short stories, they were able to cover many different issues that are connected with adolescence, such as suicide and abusive parenting. But about halfway through, it transitions to being about Fumika's backstory, and it goes into how she started delivering Shigofumi. The transition from an episodic format to being more storyline based was fairly smooth, and for me it actually got better, but for the people that enjoyed those one episode story arcs, it may be disappointing when the show completely changes in the second half. Now, the main reason why I enjoyed the second half more was that Fumika's childhood shook me to the core. Watching what she went through made my stomach churn. I've said many times that I have a very hard outer shell. I don't get emotional easily. However, this show has such an insane level of cruelty that I wanted to just take every single asshole character and strangle them with my bare hands. This series takes all the flaws of humanity and magnifies them so that they're impossible to ignore. It's always making sure that the audience knows that when we let our greed, anger and depression get the better of us, we're capable of some horrible things. The anime has this immensely bleak outlook on reality, and while I don't always agree with it, in fact, I think its outlook on apathetic youth is straight up ridiculous, I can't argue against some of the beliefs in here because there are some truly atrocious people out there. And this was the most apparent in episode 6, which was about bullying. I know I'm gonna sound like a bit of a pansy here, but this arc just hit way too close to home. Being a bully victim myself, watching this made me feel like garbage, and it wasn't in a way where I was so invested in the characters that it made me upset. No, that would have been fine. What happened was it brought back a lot of bad memories and many negative feelings began to resurface. I thought I'd let go of all that hate since it happened over 10 years ago, however, that ended up not being the case. While this may not have the same effect on people that weren't bullied, the show covers many other tragic subjects, so chances are there'll be something in here that gets to you. It's constantly testing how depressing it can get while still retaining entertainment value, and for some of you, it may just cross that line and become so depressing that it's no longer enjoyable. It never quite got there for me though, since there were a few funny scenes which gave me a bit of a breather, and when it did get dramatic, it usually stayed right where it needed to. Although it still pushed my emotional tolerance to its limits, so if you don't like heavy drama, you might as well just turn off this video now. You'll hate this anime. However, on the flip side of that, if you enjoy having your heart stomped on repeatedly, and I know many of you do, this story will give you that immense feeling of sadness that you're craving. Now, in the first half of the series, Fumika is mainly in a supporting role, with her Shigofumi being used as a catalyst for the subplots of the various people she delivers them to. None of these characters are overly noteworthy since they don't usually get any more complex than the social issue that they're dealing with. I don't even remember most of their names, I just know them as the suicidal kid, the bully victim, the lesbian, and so on. This may seem like a huge negative, but it actually wasn't. Since the main draw here is the drama, which was consistently good, it didn't matter that the characters were unmemorable. So now we've got the main cast, and there were 3 characters that I like to talk about at length, with the first one being Chiaki, who's another Shigofumi deliveryman. She's outspoken and boisterous, which makes her the perfect contrast to Fumika, who's as unexpressive as a wooden door. Seeing these two trying and failing to communicate were some of the few bright spots that this show had. Chiaki was also given an extra layer of depth during her own side plot, and while it may not have the shock factor that many of the other arcs have, the resolution to it brought me the closest to crying out of anything else in the anime. Then we have Fumika's staff and wisecracking assistant, Kanaka. You'd think that she'd be the source of the comic relief, and a lot of the time she is. She does provide many light-hearted moments. However, at other times, her jokes make the atmosphere even darker. She has a very sarcastic sense of humour. At one point she even starts joking about how she wants one of the characters to literally burn in hell. While she may not have a massive role, her inclusion made the plot a lot more interesting. So finally we make it to my most polarising character, which was the protagonist Fumika. For the initial 6 episodes I was mostly unimpressed with her. She didn't do a whole lot outside of delivering letters and droning on about all the rotten aspects of humanity. Her long-winded rants on society were so unbelievably pessimistic. It's like listening to one of those emo kids go on about how life is only pain. The only thing that gives me hope is that one day it'll be over. But fuck you! Life isn't that bad. Stop being such a whiny little bitch. Anyway, episode 7 was where my opinion completely turned around. When her backstory was revealed, suddenly her unsympathetic demeanour made total sense. I'd love to continue talking about her, but I feel like I've given away too much already, so I guess I'll just move on to the visuals. While I originally thought this show looked fairly average, after some analysis I discovered that the animators did a fantastic job at making the artwork match the tone of the story. The episodes normally start in daylight using fairly bright colours, and as the situation gets more dire, they increase the amount of darkness, with the dramatic climaxes usually taking place at night. There's some great visual storytelling here, and this is also present in the character designs, especially with their facial expressions. The characters are put through some extreme situations, with their reactions being pretty intense, so accurate facial expressions were vital here. You're able to tell exactly what they're feeling. Their pain just permeates from the screen. Now, when thinking about how to describe the soundtrack, there were 2 words that popped into my head. The first one was versatile. The music could be cheerful, eerie, depressing. It could create any mood it wanted to. The second word that came to me was subtle. It's able to contribute a lot to the anime without being overbearing. It never takes attention away from the story or characters. I didn't even notice it most of the time, but I can guarantee that if the music was taken out completely, the emotional scenes wouldn't have been anywhere near as meaningful. There was something else though, another element that made this soundtrack special. I just couldn't figure it out initially. So I did some digging, and by digging I mean I went to Wikipedia, and I found out that the person that did the music for this is Masumi Ito. That name alone didn't mean all that much to me until I had a look at her previous work. She was responsible for the soundtracks to some of my favourite dramas like Hibernate Renmei, Koikaze, and She and Her Cat Everything Flows. As soon as I read more about her, I immediately understood why the music here was so good. She really knows what she's doing. So to wrap everything up, I'd like to address a line that I said earlier, which was, if you enjoy having your heart stomped on repeatedly. Some of you may have been confused by that. How could people enjoy being put through such immense emotional pain? It's a phenomenon that I don't fully understand myself, but it definitely exists. If it didn't, Re:Zero wouldn't have been as popular as it was, and Clannad After Story wouldn't be one of the most highly acclaimed anime of all time. So if you're looking for that kind of series, Shigofumi will be something that, like me, you'll never forget. So anyway, thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like. If you have any feedback, feel free to leave a comment, and if you want to see more, feel free to subscribe as well. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time.